after being convicted of stealing millions from his clients in a decade-long Ponzi scheme. The 85-year-old is best known for winning a record settlement in the Erin Brockovich case. Now he's been found guilty on 4 counts of wire fraud. Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman has the latest.
You hit the jackpot.
I did more than she did.
Tom Girardi, a once legendary lawyer and estranged husband of Real Housewives star Erika Jayne, responding to his guilty verdict with a single word.
Anything to say, sir? No.
A jury finding the 85-year-old legal titan guilty on all 4 counts of wire fraud, agreeing that he stole millions of dollars from his own clients, many of them victims of disasters and accidents.
I cried when I heard the verdict. I mean, it's not really a happy moment. How could it be happy to know that for 40 years this man walked on people in their worst day, in their worst moment, and they're homeless, and he's flying on a jet and going from country club to country club with people's money? It's not a happy day, but it's the first step in making it right.
Girardi's fall captured the attention of the country in part because he'd soared so high, gaining fame after winning a massive settlement from a California utility in a case that inspired the movie Erin Brockovich. His fame also attached to his ex-wife, Girardi often appearing alongside Erika Jayne on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
I love you. Thank you for meeting me.
Instead of having lunch with a bunch of gnarly insurance people, I got you.
She hasn't been charged with a crime, but her name was mentioned by prosecutors, the government laying out how Girardi used $20 million to help fund her career, including elaborate music videos.
It's expensive to be made.
Girardi had pleaded not guilty, a jury finding that Girardi deliberately stole client money and lied to cover it up.
His insatiable appetite for money is what led him to court and what led to this verdict today.
His defense maintained that Girardi depended on the wrong people and blamed his chief financial officer, who they say stole all the money. The CFO has pleaded not guilty.
Diane, Girardi is currently in an assisted living facility a long way from a Beverly Hills mansion. He'll be sentenced in December and faces 80 years, possibly more, in prison. And remember, he's already 85. But first, he has another embezzlement trial in Chicago set for next year for allegedly stealing money from the families of the victims of the 2018 Lion Air crash in Indonesia. He has pleaded not guilty. Diane.
Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman, thank you. And former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Neama Rahmani, joins me now for more on this. Neama, thanks for coming on. What do you make of this guilty verdict, and what do you think jurors had to consider in order to get to this decision?
Diane, it's a tremendous fall from grace from probably the most rich and powerful lawyer in California, maybe even the country. And the evidence was overwhelming. Girardi tried to point the finger at his CFO and others, but he was personally profiting, lived in a $20 million house, had multiple private jets, but millions of dollars in expensive jewelry for his ex-wife, Erika Jayne. And it was his own words in voicemails and in emails to clients lying about their settlement funds, sometimes saying that the settlements were significantly less or they were held up by a judge or medical liens. And that just wasn't true. He was pocketing that money and using settlements from newer cases to pay off clients in older cases, just like any other fraudster in a Ponzi scheme. And the jurors saw right through that.
Neama, Girardi's lawyers argued he was mentally incompetent. He didn't know what he was doing because he suffers from dementia. But he was also deemed able to assist in his own defense, and he took the witness stand in his own defense. So what kind of an impact do you think his testimony had on the case?
Diane, his testimony was everything. And in any criminal case, when a criminal defendant testifies, usually the case will come down to his or her likability, credibility, and testimony. And in a surprising turn last week, Girardi took the stand. Now, before trial, he tried to convince the judge that he was incompetent. And the judge said, no, you can assist in your own defense, and you know what you're doing, and you're going to stand trial, and you're going to face these victims in justice. And Girardi tried again to look at the jurors, and he feigned that ignorance, that frail health, that he didn't know the names of even his own lawyers. And just like Harvey Weinstein and others have tried a Hail Mary type defense where they've entered court and presented the frail victim ultimately he wasn't the victim at all. He had defrauded victims, and that's why the jury returned the verdict it did so quickly in less than 1 day.
Now, Girardi blamed his firm's former chief accountant, Chris Kamen, for the missing money. Kamen is charged with multiple fraud counts himself for allegedly aiding and abetting. He's currently in federal custody. So what's the latest on his case?
Well, Kamen's case is going to proceed. He's also going to be prosecuted. But I thought the U.S. Attorney's Office did a good job of showing that Kamen was involved in the conspiracy to defraud these clients. Girardi didn't do it alone. And like in many criminal cases where there's a co-defendant or a co-conspirator, we see finger pointing. But now that Girardi has been convicted, I think Kamen will be convicted in short order as well. He was also personally benefiting. He was paying his girlfriend. Really, this is the cardinal sin for a lawyer, to steal money from clients. And, as a former prosecutor turned plaintiff's lawyer like Girardi, it's a really much maligned profession. And when there's folks like this that steal money from victims during their darkest day where they've lost a loved one or suffered a catastrophic injury, it's really a black eye for the entire profession. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kamen goes down quickly as well.
Neama, back to Girardi. He's 85 years old now. He faces up to 20 years in federal prison for each of these 4 counts, 80 years total. So what do you expect from his sentencing, and what happens next?
Diane, I think he's going to get at least 10 years in federal prison, and this is why. There were over 200 state bar complaints against Tom Girardi, and they didn't act because he rubbed elbows with politicians and he had tremendous influence over the California state bar. So finally, it was a federal judge that referred this case for prosecution after many years of complaints by clients that Girardi was stealing money from them. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on this judge to throw the book at Tom Girardi, because not only did he do this for so many years and escape justice, but he took the witness stand, he perjured himself, he lied. He told the jurors that his clients were paid every cent that they were owed. So given how egregious and brazen this fraudulent scheme was, and given the federal sentencing guidelines that base that advisory sentence on the amount of the fraud, we're talking about more than $15 million here. Tom Girardi is likely going to die in federal prison, Diane.
Interesting. Former federal prosecutor, president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Neama Rahmani, thank you.
Thank you.